flat was rented in a large residential area on the outskirts of Belgrade. Official papers said that Dr. Dragan Dabic, a retired Serb from America who specialized in alternative medicine, was living in that flat. He was rumored to be able to cure people with his hands by invoking his own energy. He would stay at home all day long without venturing outside.
After the assassination of Serbian Prime Minister Zoran Đinđić in 2003, police scoured the city in search of the assassins. For that reason, Radovan thought staying at home all the time was a bad idea. He decided to show himself in public and lead a normal life to avoid suspicion. The other reason was quite commonplace. He needed to make a living somehow.
Once a man entered this office in my clinic and introduced himself as Dr. Dabic. He was wearing elegant clothes and looked very cultured. He bowed to show his respect to me. He said he wanted to help people because he possessed a very powerful energy. I told him he could use it here if it was really effective.
Dr. Sava Bojovic is a professor. Some time ago, he opened a fertility clinic in the suburbs of Belgrade to study human reproduction. Bojovic suggested they set up an experiment to test Dr. Dabic's skills.
We did a microscopic examination of the sperm of one of my patients. We used this microscope. The sperm was of poor quality. It wasn't active enough. I asked Dr. Dabic to test his powers on it. As I held the sample in my hands, he repeatedly passed one of his hands over it and the other underneath it. It took him 15 minutes to complete the job. After that, I examined the sample under a microscope once again. I saw that the sperm had become much more mobile. Dabic had demonstrated his very powerful energy.
Sava Bojovic had a very high opinion of Dr. Dabic's skills. He wished to have a long and fruitful period of cooperation with him. This celebration marks the clinic's 20th anniversary. Dragan Dabic was among the dignitaries invited to attend it.
Thank you for coming.
Nice to see you.
Dr. Dabic turned up at public functions. He made new contacts and struck up new friendships. Mia Sitsak was one of Dabic's new friends. They met at the medical conference dedicated to alternative treatments. Soon he asked her to be his assistant.
Dr. Dabic invited me to go to a sick boy to examine him. We went to the house where he lived. There we met the child. His name was Danilo, and his parents.
Danilo was born in 2004 into the family of political fugitive Branko Balaban. When the war broke out, Branko, his young wife, and her parents moved from Bosnia to Belgrade. Danilo became seriously ill when he was 1 year old. He paid no attention to the people around him. His mental development slowed down. He made no attempt to engage with anybody, not even with his parents or elder sisters.
At that first meeting, Danilo constantly connected with the doctor. Soon they were already communicating with each other. The boy tugged at the doctor's beard and took his hat from him. We were surprised. It was like a miracle. Dr. Dabic wasted no time treating the boy's illness.
My son liked the doctor very much. He played with his beard and mustache.
We always met outside Danilo's house in the morning at about 7 o'clock. Dr. Dabic normally came by bicycle wearing his hat. It was a very funny spectacle.
The doctor would put his hands around the boy's head like this.
He kept his hands close to the back of the head like this. Sometimes he pressed his hands against the head. Otherwise, he kept them a short distance away. If he wanted to produce an effect on the brain, he would put his hands on this spot and keep them there for a long time.
Dr. Dabic did what traditional medicine had failed to do. Finally, Danilo began taking note of the people around him and tried to talk with them. He could now show his emotions and indicate what he wanted through gestures.
As soon as the boy woke up, the doctor would begin playing with him, just as anyone would play with their children. Danilo thought about taking off the doctor's glasses and lifting his mustache in an attempt to kiss him on the mouth. It was great fun.
The press dubbed him the Bosnian Butcher. The International Tribunal at The Hague charged him on 11 counts, including genocide, forcible deportation, and extermination of people, terrorism, and hostage-taking. The special services of most European countries were trying to hunt him down. The Hague Tribunal was demanding that Serbia extradite Radovan Karadzic.
An international obligation from Belgrade is to arrest him and to deliver him.
Meanwhile, he was in Belgrade meeting his colleagues at seminars and pursuing a successful medical career under an assumed name, Dragan Dabic.
Is that so much as I was about to say that. I'd like to go form a Soviet bloc. Yeah, but real quick, start forward or start back. Will the new strategic arms reduction treaty between Russia and the U.S. ever become law? Obama is putting...
Wealthy British scion Zach Wilson, investment activist Max.
Markets, finance, scandal. Find out what's really happening to the global economy in Kaiser Report on RT.
By 2007, Dragan Dabic had published several articles in medical journals. He earned a reputation in the medical community. He joined the Red Cross, gave lectures, and held seminars. At one of the sessions, he met Mina Minic, a Serb painter who was practicing alternative medicine.
My grandpa used to sit here, and this was his desk. This is where he received patients. Whenever Dr. Dabic came round, he was here too. He used this computer. He and Grandpa were co-writing a book about alternative medicine. When Dabic stayed here well into the night, he slept in this room on the couch.
Mina Minic, a healer with extrasensory powers, badly needed advice from a professional physician. The two men spent a lot of time working together. They gave treatment to sick people, and they hoped they would be able to complete that book together. Mina Minic even offered Dr. Dabic to move into his house.
The house was under construction. The top floor was still missing. I was going to accommodate him on that floor with those two windows as soon as it was ready.
Those plans never came to fruition. After mid-July 2008, Mina Minic and Dragan Dabic never saw each other again.
Once Mina invited me to attend one of his sessions. It was past 1 o'clock in the morning when the session was over. Mina asked me to take Dr. Dabic to his house in my car. I was going the same way.
Velimir and Dr. Dabic became fast friends. Velimir often took Dabic home in his car. They would talk throughout the drive. He shared his problems with a professional psychologist.
Dragan was always ready to help the people he knew. He always did his best to help, but I don't think he ever asked for help. At least I never heard such requests from him. I always paused at this traffic light. He would get out of the car and walk away. I never even saw the house where he lived.
Dr. Dabic's unusual style made him stand out in a crowd. But people who saw that man never suspected that he had a $5 million bounty on his head.
Dabic lived in this flat. I lived on the ground floor. I recall that when my father died, he met me at the entrance to the house and gave me his visiting card with D.D. Dabic written on it. He said he was a psychotherapist and offered help. I invited him to come to my flat for a cup of coffee. I felt relieved after talking to him.
Radovan Karadzic never dyed his hair. nor did he ever have plastic surgery. His only disguise was that of old age, grey hair and a long beard.
I always thought that the man who often came here was Dr. Dabic, not Radovan Karadzic. His appearance and behavior betrayed his great intellect. As a rule, he would buy one apple and one pear and one pepper. I thought it was very odd, but that's exactly what attracted my attention. Besides his appearance, he was very extravagant. His house was nearby. I also know that he often sat here, just outside the Luda Kucha cafe.
Initially, he bought stuff in the shop across the road. His unusual appearance marked him out in the crowd. Later, he began visiting my cafe too. Whenever Dabic heard guests playing the psaltery, he dropped in to listen. He's a very affable man. He would always ask for permission to take a seat. If he found himself in good company, he would always thank each guest. He played the psaltery on several occasions and was quite good at it, but he never sang. He preferred to drink red wine, called bear's blood, but never to excess. He simply enjoyed the wine's taste.
While Radovan Karadzic was in hiding in Belgrade under the guise of Dr. Dabic, the homes of his wife and children in the Bosnian town of Pale were constantly raided and searched.
One massive roundup happened during the night. There was a large number of military and police vehicles, and even tanks and a helicopter. When we looked out of the window, we were blinded by a bright red light. It was so intense that it hurt our eyes. We were very scared.
Psychological pressure on his family was one of the methods the authorities used to compel Radovan Karadzic to surrender. In 2005, Liliana Karadzic asked her husband to do just that in a televised address.
With all my heart and soul, I beg you to give yourself up. Although it pains me greatly to have to ask you for that. It will be a sacrifice for our own sake and for the sake of our family.
Journalists put forward fantastical theories to explain why she had done it. One of them put her behavior down to feigned jealousy of an invented mistress. Tabloids assigned that role to Dabic's assistant Mila Tsitsak. But the fact is that she first met Dr. Dabic only 2 years after Liliana's televised address.
I never had a love affair with him. We had a friendly relationship, and we worked together in this humanitarian job, if I can call it that.
Police in this country and in foreign countries knew we were not in touch. Even so, we were often searched. They would break into our home and take us in for questioning. My son spent 10 days in custody. I was under pressure from various foreign services. They threatened to arrest me and my daughter. I asked Radovan to give himself up because I saw no other solution, persuading them to leave at least my children alone. I thought that price would set my son free.
The search for Karadzic was conducted both in built-up cities and difficult mountainous regions. The yellow press regularly churned out conflicting reports concerning his whereabouts. But in fact, he had never left the Serbian capital. His friends regularly received letters from him. Moreover, he himself put them into their post boxes.
It was past midnight when I received a call from a man. I didn't recognize his voice. He asked me to examine my letterbox in the entrance hall. I went downstairs, opened the box, and found a CD there. When I opened it on my computer, I saw a novel written by Karadzic.
After the war, Miroslav Tohol, the ex-information minister of the Serbian Republic, founded a publishing house in Belgrade. He published the novel by his former workmate and friend. Moreover, the publication fetched a small profit.
Nearly every book published by us is in this shop, except for books written by Karadzic. This means they are sold out. This is very good.
Each day, Dr. Dabic took the number 73 bus to the fertility clinic for work. He found the route very convenient. It took him from 30 to 50 minutes to get there. Like many times before, on July 18th, 2008, Dr. Dabic boarded a number 73 bus outside his home. And it seemed just like any other trip to work.
Two sturdily built young men had approached him in the bus and were standing side by side with him. Sometime later, another two men got on the bus. They said to him, "You must get off and follow us." They took him out of the bus, bundled him into a car, pulled a woolen cap over his eyes, and drove him to some place he knew nothing about. 3 days passed before he was put in a court jail and told that he had been arrested.
The arrest of Radovan Karadzic in 2008 stirred the Balkans. The Muslims rejoiced. But massive protest actions involving thousands of charged. Quite often, fans will chant the name of Radovan Karadzic rather than cheer on their favorite